Hey friends, today on Gardening with Creekside, I am excited to share two beautiful flower beds that Jerry and I installed and have been managing for the last year and a half here at our church. I came this morning to do a little routine maintenance, and I thought, you know what, this would be a great opportunity to share this space with you because we have not talked about this yet, and because this is a really unique situation as far from a gardener's perspective, because these two flower beds have everything you could ever imagine in a garden, and I thought it would be a really great opportunity for me to share how we designed this space and then how we're maintaining it, and then the fun things that we're going to do this spring with this space. So to give you a bit of perspective of where we are, this is one of the main entrances to the church. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, this whole thing was under construction, and these two flower beds, while they have always been here, during the construction process, of course, they just got completely destroyed. And when the construction was over, one of our pastors came to us, who is also obviously a dear friend. He is also a customer of ours, and he said, "Hey, we've got this space. It needs to be planted before Sunday. Can y'all come help?" And we're like, of course. And basically we said, hey, the church has its budget, but we would like to just kind of take over the project and do what we want to do. And he was like, go for it. So that is what we did. We installed it probably the absolute worst time of the year you'd ever want to install a landscape. It was July. It was so incredibly hot. It was awful. The space is not on irrigation, but man, the plants have done great. So I'm sharing them with you today. Here we have, you can see there is a massive brick wall. So this is a very hot spot. It is a cloudy day today, so there's no sun, but this area absolutely fries. I mean, it is hot. The Japanese maple was already here, so that was there, and then down here there are 3 small crepe myrtles. They were there along with some camellias in the ground. All of that was there. That was our only working structure. So basically what we have done is, because this is a big open space right here, tons of heat is on this wall. So what does good in hot spaces? That's right, summerific hibiscus. To show you how hot it is the end of March, and Holy Grail has already sprouted that much. Look at that. Is that not crazy? That just shows you how hot this space is. So we've got a Holy Grail. We've got 1, 2, and then 3. And y'all, I promise you, it was not my plan to plant Holy Grail at the church. It's just a fantastic plant, and so there you go, little pun for you. So in here, of course, those Holy Grails will take over. This past January, you know me, I had to come in here and add some daffodils. Clearly, these are on the way out, but they were spectacular, just gorgeous. So as all this foliage dies away, our hibiscus are going to be coming up. I will plant annuals in here. I don't know what, last year I did the Super Beaner whiteout, which was really beautiful. And then we've got Desert Plains grass. So again, you can see how that Desert Plains is coming up. The Japanese maple is flushing out quite nicely. And then look at these beautiful Pugster blue butterfly bushes. So part of my goal today is to get these kind of trimmed back a little bit, get them cleaned up. They have done really well. The fire chiefs, look how beautiful and nice and big. And this is not on irrigation, y'all, and doing great. So we've got fire chiefs in here, and then up against the back wall, these are limelight primes, because I did not want, obviously, to cover up, or I wanted it right below the writing on that. Beautiful white panicle hydrangea, did really well. We did have some issue last year with them kind of tipping over and growing sideways. So you can see this was the main problem right here, but I'm really encouraged with how they're flushing out. I was afraid maybe I was going to have to come in here and replace them, but they are flushing out really nicely, and I think as long as I kind of keep them pruned, they will be okay. And then we have in here 3 Distillium. So the Distillium gives me my year-round structure. I came Sunday to church and I was like, oh my word. Now somebody took it off, but there's a giant dandelion weed in here. So that's part of the goal today, is get in here and get things nice and neat and tidy. And so this is that flower bed, right? So a lot of sun right there, really hot, intense heat because of the brick wall. Then you come on the other side of the causeway, right? And we have this space. Now, this space was more challenging because this whole building was brand new. So they built this, and if you've ever had construction, you know how terrible the soil will be, and they just throw stuff in there. Well, that was the case in this bed. Clearly is a very defined flower bed. It's interesting though, because the sun will come up behind me and then it sets more this way. So everything in the back will get lots of good shade. Tons of sun up front, and then we have almost complete shade in the back. Gets a couple hours of morning sun, and then it is in the shade. So what do we have in here? We have yin and yang viburnum. So that is right through here. You can see all of that beautiful new growth. I mean, just bright green foliage, brand new. I may come in here and just very lightly trim them, like a rogue limb. I'm just gonna cut back just a little bit, nothing severe. And then I've got guara planted through here. So it's the Carolee Petite Pink. You can see how nicely it is doing. It's dotted through here. And then these hydrangeas are all the Firelight Tidbits, all right through here. I tell people how tough this plant is because obviously this is one of the main entrances to the church, really high traffic. And we are blessed to have tons and tons and tons of kids here at the church. I don't know what happened. I'm just going to assume that one day a kid was playing and they fell. Now, what they were doing in this flower bed, I don't know. But they were way back here in the back. And this poor hydrangea, I came to check on something, and half the plant was gone. I mean, it was broken and smushed and just a disaster. And I told you, I was like, oh no, we're going to have to replace it. You can kind of see where this is the part that stayed, and then back there is where what happened and it got gone. Well, life happened and I never got here to switch it out. It flushed back out. It didn't miss a beat. It was like, I can take a kid, no problem, flush back out. Beautiful flowers last year, nice and petite. We like that tidbit because it is nice and petite, and it does really nicely here in front of our dwarf horseman. This is that blue atlas cedar. We thought it would be a really fun color contrast, a nice specimen tree. We've got nice growth on it. It did wonderful last year. You can see here where we've got that new growth already popping out. Just a beautiful blue color. And then in the back is the Florida Sunshine, the anise, the Elysium, and does really well here. Beautiful foliage on it. It's a little bit washed out right now just because it's getting a little bit more of the winter sun, but doing just great. So that beautiful evergreen shrub for the shade. Love this plant. So last year, what I did in this flower bed, I used a lot of coleus. I used Wicked Witch because the Wicked Witch against that Florida Sunshine was spectacular. So I used Wicked Witch. I had Surefire begonias in here. Then I had double up begonias more up towards the front because they were shorter. So I come in and I fill it in my empty spaces with those beautiful flowering annuals that are extremely low maintenance, that do not require a lot of feeding. Because as I told one of the pastors, I was like, this is my bed. I want to take ownership. Please don't let anybody touch it. And he was like, it's yours, honey, take it. So I am not up here every week fertilizing and pinching back. I don't have time for that. Most people do not. So I needed plants to be very self-sufficient and take care of themselves. It worked great. We're still kind of thinking about what we want to do this year in the flower bed. But again, what I'm here to do today is a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of pruning, weeding, tidying up. What we will do is when we come and plant the annuals, we will fertilize all of our shrubs. I did that last year when I planted the annuals. So everybody's going to either get plant tone or holly tone, rose tone, whatever it requires. We'll come back in and do a nice fresh layer of mulch. If we need to add some compost to some areas, we can do that. But I have just been so excited, and every time we come to church, it's just been such a wonderful blessing for me to see how well these beds are thriving. I just could not be happier with how they have performed. So we're going to do a little bit of maintenance. I'm going to go through. I'm probably just going to set up the camera because I'm flying solo today. Set up the camera, do a little bit of maintenance, and then I'll tell you what I did once we're all done, and we'll wrap it up here. All right, my friends, and like that, we are done. Not a whole lot of work had to be done here today. I spent like a total of 45 minutes here doing a little pruning and weeding. And honestly, it probably took that long because I was filming, so I had to move the camera around a few times. But just doing that little bit of maintenance, making sure that it's neat and tidy, goes a long way. Is it in like all of its prime right now? No, it's not. That is going to come in the summer, but I'm a huge fan of being neat and tidy and getting those weeds out because, you know, people walk by this and I want to make sure that it is warm and welcoming and inviting to people, and that it shows that we care about how our church is here. So what I did, the only thing that I did in this flower bed was to trim those yin and yang viburnums. And if you look at it, hopefully you will not be able to go, oh my gosh, somebody just pruned this plant. I was very kind of methodical with how I came in. So like right here, I went ahead and pruned that. I pruned it right above where there is that new growth that is coming. And because I don't want these plants to come out over the sidewalk, right? I need to keep them contained. So while they're small, we're going to prune them and keep them shaped up. But beautiful foliage on these plants. You can see it's got little flower buds right there. So yin and yang just got some nice trims, haircuts. Again, not anything major. You know, if you didn't know any better, if you didn't see it before and after, you would probably not even know that these plants had been pruned, which is exactly what I want. Again, when we come back to put the annuals in, everybody's going to get fertilizer, everybody's going to be taken care of, but right now this bed is good to go. It is the end of March, beginning of April is Saturday, I think, and so our last frost date here is April the 15th. I will go more on the little bit of the cautious side just because I can't run up here and cover the plants, you know, in 5 minutes because we do live a little bit away from here. So I want to make sure that the plants that I put in here either can handle the cooler temperatures and or I've passed that last frost date and I feel good with putting things in here. In this flower bed, it was mostly weeding what I had to do. I see I missed one underneath the distilleum, so I'm going to go grab that here in a minute. But no pruning as far as this section goes. Everybody, the hydrangeas had already pruned those back quite a while ago, so they have been pruned. I don't touch the fire chiefs. They're in good shape. I'm going to leave them alone. Clearly, I had already done my grasses, and they are coming back with a nice vigor that I love to see. Really the only thing I pruned in here were the butterfly bushes. And I may have given some of you a heart attack because I was a little aggressive, especially on this one right here, because butterfly bushes bloom on new growth. And I wanted to get them nice and cleaned up and get that dead foliage, like the dead blooms, off of here. I really probably should have come and pruned these earlier to get at least the dead foliage off, but that's okay, it's all right. So I was cutting the blooms off, the old blooms. I had to trim off some of the new growth, and that's okay. They will handle it. They love this spot. You can see how there's still a lot of good growth on there, but yeah, you can probably tell that these have been pruned, and that's okay. As far as my jonquils down here, yes, I'm going to leave these. These are daffodils. Most people know them as daffodils. I grew up calling them jonquils because here in the South, this line of daffodils that we grow is the jonquillas, jonquil for short, because they can handle our heat and humidity and they naturalize really well. These are jonquillas from Color Blends. Gorgeous display, but I need to let this foliage die back, and that way they will store up lots of energy for next spring and be another beautiful display of color here as well. So we're just going to kind of let them hang out. Once they turn yellow, then I can cut them back down to the ground and they will, quote, disappear for the season. And then come early next spring, late winter, they will pop up and be quite happy. I think I'll bring you back, if you want me to, I will bring you back when I do the plantings of the annuals and show you how I fertilize, what plants I choose to put in here, all of those good things. But I just wanted to share this space with you because, again, it has a little bit of everything. It has hot blazing sun, it has shade, it has no irrigation, it is completely neglected, high traffic area, right off of a big parking lot, close to cement. I mean, it has not the prime conditions, and yet it is thriving. And so, very excited to share it with you. As always, I hope you have found this fun and informative, gotten a couple of ideas on maybe some plant solutions for a tough garden spot in your garden. And anyway, it's been fun. As always, thanks so much for growing with Creekside. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.